Hello, thank you for joining me today on this special day on the channel as I continue Doctor Who, but it's essentially a new era for the channel and Doctor Who as well on the channel because it's time to jump into the Matt Smith era, right? So of course it's a big deal, right? I just said goodbye to David Tennant, the 10th Doctor. Now it's time to jump into the 11th, right? So yeah, of course, quite exciting. As sad as it was to say goodbye to David, right? It's just as exciting to begin something new, right? I'm really quite excited for this. And you know, the one thing I've come to understand about Doctor Who is that, you know, everyone has their doctor, right? Everyone has their era, essentially. And one of the things I've come to learn is that Matt Smith is, you know, the doctor for a lot of people, for a substantial portion of the fan base, because I suppose that's how they started, right? On Doctor Who, through Matt Smith. And of course, you know, that applies to all the different doctors as well, right? Be it David Tennant, Eccleston, or even, you know, before that. But, you know, in New Who, it's been clear to me that, you know, the Matt Smith era is a big deal, right? It appears to be a lot of people's doctor. So, you know, in that sense, I am excited to see if this brings a new type of Doctor Who fan to my channel, right? I mean, I certainly hope so. You know, I'm quite confident in the content I put out. So I do hope this does bring, you know, fans of Matt Smith or, you know, fans of the 11th Doctor to the channel. And it's not just the Doctor that's switching. The showrunner is switching as well. And of course, you know, I'm guessing along that switch comes a plethora of changes, essentially. Because of course, you know, Moffat's going to put his own spin on things, his own touch on things. So, you know, that to me, that's one of the exciting parts of this, getting into this new era of Doctor Who. And of course, you know, Matt Smith might end up being a reoccurring face on the channel because, you know, there's a possibility that I could have two shows that have Matt Smith as one of the lead characters, essentially, right? Doctor Who, and then, you know, Game of Thrones, the House of the Dragon down the line, perhaps. So let's see, right? You might see a lot of Matt Smith on my channel. Though, that being said, I did see Matt Smith recently in a film, Last Night in Soho. I thought he was actually quite good in that. And, you know, seeing him in that film really had me even more excited because, you know, it reminded me that, okay, I'm gonna get to see more of him soon because I'm really close to his run on the show, on Doctor Who, right? So yeah, you know, I have seen him recently. But of course, this is, you know, Doctor Who Series 5 is long before Last Night in Soho, right? So I believe this is 2010 or 2009, right? So yeah, a long time ago, but still, it'll be cool to see a young Matt Smith as well. Now, before I get into the episode, if you're interested in full length for this episode, or maybe even early access to the next episode right now, consider checking out patreon.com. And again, it is a timer-based full length. There should be no issues in terms of the sync. Everything is recorded in 25 frames per second, the British Broadcasting Standard. So no problems there at all. If you're interested in that, check out the link in the description, in the pinned comment. Also, I'm on social media, Twitter specifically. So yeah, if you're interested, check that out. I don't think I need a recap because it was pretty clear, right? He regenerated, he's crashing, and I'm guessing it's going to pick up from that point on, or at some point, right? Really close to that ending of The End of Time Part 2. Right then, so let's just jump right into it. I hope you enjoy. There it is! Oh, look at this! I'm loving this theme already.
Please, could you send someone to fix it? Or please.
I know, just the man. Speak of the devil. Yeah, I was saying earlier, the photography. That dolly shot earlier. Already, there's a... Oh, look at that lens flare going on there. Yeah. There's a distinct look already. I love that contrast, the red and the blue. Love it.
Did you come about the crack of my wall?
What crack?
Oh. Ooh. He's expelling the energy, right? Regeneration energy? Oh, that looks great.
Who are you?
don't know yet.
Ha.
Still cooking. Scared. What is that?
An apple.
Apples rubbish. I hate apples.
Said you love them.
No. I love yogurt. Yogurt's my favourite. Give me yogurt.
He's not gonna like that either, is he?
Bacon.
Now, are there no adults at home? Like, she mentioned an aunt?
Like a name in a fairy tale. Oh, in Scotland, Amelia.
No. Had to move to
No.
It's rubbish.
So what about your mum and dad then?
Right.
Upstairs?
Don't have a mum and dad. Just an aunt.
So you know what I think?
She just needs a friend.
What?
Must be out of a scary crack in your wall.
It must be, but also you can see she's lonely. I like the switch up instead of like a grown-up. Great shot.
5-minute hop into the future should do it.
Can I count?
I was gonna say, yeah.
5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes. I'll be right back.
People always say that.
Oh, yeah. I could tell. That's a great shot, too. Oh. Oh. Oh, no. Is this gonna be kind of like the girl in the fireplace? He won't show up. Ah, it is, isn't it?
Doctor.
Oh, not that doctor. Doctor Who?
Doctor.
Olivia Colman!
White male mid-20s breaking and entering semi-sun backup. I've got him restrained.
Oh my goodness.
Oi! You sit still.
Karen Gillan.
Yeah, where's Amelia?
Amelia Pond.
Yeah. Amelia. Little
Oh my god, is that her?
I promised for 5 minutes, but the engines were phasing. I suppose I must have gone a bit far.
Amelia Pond hasn't lived here in a long time.
Oh. I think this might be her, no? Her reaction. Oh my god. It is her. But why she say 6 months?
The key, I lost it.
But you're a policewoman.
I'm a kissogram.
Is that the guy from the hospital in the bed?
12 years. I'm not 6 months late. I'm 12 years late.
He's coming.
You said
It is her.
months. Why did you say 6 months?
We've gotta go.
This matters. So why did you say 6 months?
Well, why did you say 5 minutes?
It is her.
What?
Same hair.
Come on. 12 years and 4 psychiatrists.
4.
I kept fighting them.
Why?
They said you weren't real.
Aw.
I can be a nurse.
Doctor and a nurse?
Actually, none.
I dabble.
Who's your friend?
Who's Amy? You were Amelia.
Yeah, now I'm Amy.
Amelia Pond. That was a great name.
Like a fairy
Bit
tale.
fairy tale.
But they'll have to power up first, won't they? So, assuming a medium-sized
Oh, it's him!
starship, that's 20 minutes. What do you think? 20 minutes? Yeah. 20 minutes.
Oh, isn't that the guy? There he is. Yeah, it is the guy. Red and blue.
Fresh as the day you gave it to me, and you know it's the same one.
Look at that. Great shot.
Amy.
Hi. Oh, this is Rory. He's a friend.
Boyfriend.
Kind of boyfriend.
Amy.
Oh.
Why? Your friend, what was his name? Not him, the good-looking one.
Thanks.
Jeff.
Oh, thanks.
He had a laptop in his bag, a laptop. Big laptop. I need Jeff's laptop. Hello? Laptop. Gimme.
No.
Oh,
Wait.
it's...
Oh boy.
Hang on.
Give it here. Blimey. Get a girlfriend, Jeff.
Graham.
Oh, and delete your internet history.
Yeah. Duck.
I did not open the crack.
Somebody
Whoa.
did.
The cracks in the skin of the universe, don't you know where they came from?
Whoa.
You don't, do you? The universe is cracked. The Pandorica will open. Silence will fall.
Oh. Oh, wow.
Well, that's rubbish. Who's that supposed to be?
It's you.
Me? Is that what I look like?
You don't know.
Busy day.
Oh, yeah, I guess he hasn't...
Silence, Doctor. Silence will fall.
Huh. Let's put a pin in that.
What's in here?
I'm saving the world. I need a decent shirt.
Ooh.
To hell with the raggedy.
You just summoned aliens back to Earth.
New outfit time.
Actual aliens. Are you not going to turn your back?
Nope.
The doctor will see you now! Is this world protected? You're not the first lot to have come here. Oh, there have been so many. What happened to them?
Yeah. Whoa. The doctor happened.
I'm the doctor.
Aha.
Run.
That's right. That's a great touch, showing all the doctors.
Okay. What have you got for me this time?
Oh, this should be fun.
Oh, you sexy thing. Look at you.
Go on, show me. He'll come back. Oh.
That was 2 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that's
14 years.
14 years since fish custard. I'll soon fix that.
Go on, have a look. Bigger on the inside. She kind of reminds me of Sophie Turner as well. Wow. That's gotta be one of my favorite shots of Doctor Who, right there. She serves as like an audience surrogate. Whoa. Whoa.
A new one. Lovely.
What's green?
Been knocking around on my own for a while, my choice, but I've started talking to myself all the time. It's giving me earache.
You're lonely. That's it.
Just that. Promise.
Okay.
Huh.
I thought, well, I started to think that maybe you were just like a madman with a box.
Amy Pond, there's something you better understand about me because it's important, and one day your life may depend on it. I am definitely a madman with a box.
Oh. The Raggedy Doctor. Whoa. That's tomorrow, is it? All right. Okay, folks. Matt Smith, the first episode in the books, the 11th Doctor at the 11th hour, right? Yeah. You know, first of all, I've got to say, Matt Smith is the Doctor. No doubt about it. You know, this episode was just fantastic. It really was. And, you know, in that sense, I feel like it's such a fantastic jumping on point, right? A standalone jumping on point. You could show this to anyone. Essentially, you could show this to anyone who's interested in Doctor Who. And yeah, I think it really is quite an effective jumping on point. As it should be, right? Given the fact that it is a completely new showrunner. I mean, it's quite effective in terms of, you know, taking over from everything that's been set up in the Davies era, right? The continuity is there, but it also is such a fantastic standalone and jumping on point. And like I mentioned in my intro, I know that a lot of people kind of started Doctor Who by, watching this. This was their introduction to Doctor Who. So yeah, the proof is in the pudding, essentially, right? Or the custard. Though they're different things, of course. Yeah, I thought it did a fantastic job of, establishing everything, and it certainly establishes everything. A lot of new things. By the end of this episode, it certainly had a different feel. Like Moffat's, hands are all over this. So yeah, this is yet another Moffat episode that goes right into my top episodes of Doctor Who list, right? It really was a fantastic episode. Though I must say, for me, the best parts are, the opening of the episode and the ending of the episode. And not just like the final few minutes, just like more than that, of course, but like the first quarter and the last quarter of the episode. I thought those are the strongest elements of this episode, for me at least. Of course, there's, a lot of great stuff in the middle as well, but the midpoint. But, I just love how it kind of bookends so nicely, right? Those are my favorite parts of this episode. And I must say, this might even be a strong contender for the best episode in terms of establishing a new companion. Though, of course, this is doing much more than establishing a new companion. It's establishing a new Doctor as well. And, that also, I think, played a part in making the transition much easier, right? Because there's no connections. There's, before, it was always a new companion, but I knew the Doctor, or the companion stayed the same and there's a new Doctor, right, from Eccleston to Tennant. But this time, everything is new, right? Everything is new, new companion, new Doctor, the friends and family of the companion. But yeah, if you compare this to episodes like Rose, or, Smith and Jones, or Partners in Crime, yeah, it's right up there. I mean, it rivals all of those. It could be the best, essentially. It really could be. And, one of the reasons I think that is because of the strong focus on the companion here, right? This is a totally different type of companion, right? Amelia Pond or Amy Pond. And of course, it's great to see the lovely Karen Gillan as Amelia Pond or Amy Pond. Again, I don't know the name of the young actress who played Amelia Pond, young version of Amy Pond or Amelia Pond, but, I thought she was great. I thought she was great in that role. And of course, Amelia Pond or Amy Pond it just serves as such a fantastic audience surrogate, right? At those two different ages, essentially. And some of the things she goes through, right? Even her, going into the TARDIS. For the first time. It's essentially us, the audience, going into that new TARDIS for the first time, right? Seeing it through her eyes. So yeah, really, a really fantastic use of the audience surrogate. And of course, speaking of the TARDIS, wow, that is quite the new look. New look for me at least. For all I know, this could be something from the past, right? The inspiration, that is, it could be taken from past Doctor Who TARDIS interiors, but to me it's new, right? And I thought it was quite noticeable that the interior set of the TARDIS is quite spacious. I mean, it was noticeably large, or larger than before. So yeah, that's really great to see, because I can already see that it's going to allow a lot more scenes inside the TARDIS, in the interior of the TARDIS, right? Given the space. And of course, that's going to allow more than two, right? It's been a really intimate two-person type space up until this point. And, given that Amy Pond is in a relationship with Rory, I think it's safe to assume that Rory is going to be coming along at some point, right? Kind of like Mickey kind of came along at one point. But, this... though he might be a bit similar to Mickey, I think it's a different type of character, right? I can see a distinct difference there, though there's a resemblance, not a physical resemblance, but there's a resemblance to that Mickey type character, right? But yeah, speaking of the relationship at hand here, it appears that in those 2 years, Rory and Amy kind of came to the decision, or made the decision, to get married, right? And of course, that's a big cliffhanger in this episode. Her dress, right? The dress. But, you know, it is interesting that she didn't want to mention that, right? She just called it stuff. And, you know, that kind of goes back to earlier in the episode as well, you know, as she runs into Rory and, you know, she doesn't introduce him as her partner or her boyfriend. He does, right? He has to kind of step in and say her boyfriend, right? You see that she's kind of a bit standoffish about that in front of the doctor, right? There's a lot, you know, there's a lot to talk about here. There's a lot to, you know, dig into in terms of Amy Pond and her character, right? I'd say this is probably the most nuanced introduction to a companion, right? Because they've given us a complete backstory, essentially, within an episode, from her childhood to her adult years, right? So yeah, you know, that's why I certainly think that this rivals any of the you know, companion establishing episodes, be it Rose, Smith and Jones, Partners in Crime. Though of course, you know, Donna Noble is established in that Christmas special. I mean, this character of Amy Pond, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of setup there, right? This is not just this is not just a companion that's going to come along and then sign off. You know, there is something else going on here. Something, you know, much larger is at play here. But you see that the doctor is monitoring that crack, right? He kind of turns off that screen at that moment in time and then kind of goes back to Amy, right? To ask her if she's okay. But yeah, you know, he knows something is going on here. So it's not as simple as just, you know, I mean, it's a mix of things, right? You know, he does feel a responsibility here that, you know, he kept her 14 years essentially, right? She was, oh my goodness, that's insane. So you see that he does feel a responsibility here, right? To Amy Pond, that he left her hanging for that long, right? So that certainly plays a part here, but you know, there's something else going on here as well. And you know, speaking of the crack, the universe is cracked, right? The Pandoric will open and silence will fall. I believe they said Pandoric, right? Not Pandora, but they said Pandoric. So, you know, there's a lot of setup there. You know, these things are certainly things that are probably going to come up again. I mean, not probably, they are going to come up again. So, you know, that's why I'm going to remember them, put a pin in that, of course. And it is Moffat. You know, I have some experience now with Moffat episodes and narratives. So, yeah, you know, the setup is there, you know. In that sense, you know, it had a lot of elements that I enjoy in a Moffat episode, or I have enjoyed so far in Moffat episodes. You know, the one-offs he's done in the Davies era. You know, strong character focus, keen sense of character focus. And, you know, a lot of Moffat's episodes have really efficient plotting, right, and setup. And, of course, it's exceptionally strong narratives are on display as well. And I'm speaking of, you know, some of my favorites of Moffat's from the Davies era as he came in to do some of those one-offs or two-parters, right? A lot of them are really just fantastic. And you see elements of those present in this episode as well. You know, the girl at the fireplace, specifically. You see a lot of those elements are present in this episode as well. And, you know, speaking of setups in those episodes kind of, you know, playing out here in this episode, you see he snaps his fingers and the doors open right to the TARDIS. So, you know, is this the version of the Doctor, or one of the versions of the Doctor River Song was describing, right? Yeah. And, you know, speaking of River Song, another character that was in a Moffat episode. So yes, you know, I'm expecting to see River Song. I'm not sure if it's going to be in this season or the next season, but yeah, you know, I'm certainly hoping to see her sooner rather than later. I'm certainly missing River Song. But, you know, from a production standpoint, of course, Murray Gold, again, you know, like if there wasn't already some incredible music from these past few series, you know, there's so much fantastic new music for this episode, right? Or for this series. And there's multiple new tracks here. You know, there's a lot of new music here, and two of them are, you know, really just fantastic standout themes, essentially, that I'm probably going to hear all the time now. As expected, Murray Gold just delivers phenomenal new music. And, you know, I felt that it actually fit Matt Smith's Doctor, you know, the tone of it as well. And of course, there was quite a noticeable change or improvement from a visual standpoint. Not that, you know, some of the Series 4 episodes or specials didn't look great. there's a distinct, change in the style of the photography, right? It kind of shifted more into the modern era of cinematography, or more in line with some of the other major shows or productions. You see, it's quite high fidelity, right? The visual look of it. So yeah, I know it made this switch to HD in the specials, but I'm not talking about just the high quality of it. I'm talking about the actual, choices, the camera angles, the dynamic camera movement, right? And of course, the editing choices. It kind of reminded me of kind of like a Tim Burton type fairy tale type setting almost, or shots every now and then. There's a great moment in the opening, right? It's this sweeping steady cam shot, I think, of the garden, right? It's just kind of taking you through it, and then it kind of goes through that arch, and it shows you the house, right? So yeah, it really had that fairy tale feel to it, didn't it? I mean, a lot of the things that play out in that opening portion of the episode, it feels like a fairy tale, doesn't it? I thought there was also some great use of, depth of field, a lot of it as well, noticeably so. And I thought it was quite effective. And, again, this is the type of thing I was excited for. I wanted to see the changes. I wanted to see how they're going to, kind of set themselves apart from the Davies era. And just after one episode, you can see a distinct change in the tone, the look, right? It's there. And, I'm excited to see this. But yeah, there's a lot of fantastic photography in this. So I'll certainly have to look up the DP, the director of photography on this episode. And hopefully he is around for many of these episodes coming up in the series. Because, it's a noticeable style, a distinct style. And it felt like it is on par with a lot of the the big productions, show productions that I see or I've watched. So yeah, really impressive. There's a lot of really standout frames. I'm sure I'm going to be grabbing a lot of frames from this episode. There's just now I can think of at least 6 or 7 that really stand out to me. Again, a lot of them have the depth of field being utilized, the focus pull. There's a lot of great shots of the TARDIS and the Doctor, right? That one shot I mentioned at the end, it's probably one of my favorites of the entire show. The Doctor kind of standing to one side as the orange light emanates from within the TARDIS, and, Amy Pond kind of enters. Beautiful shot. Stunning shot, actually. And there's many of them in this episode. So really, it's really quite exciting because I am a big fan of the technical side of things as well, the production side of things. That's always been one of the main areas of interest for me in the photography. You'll notice if you follow me on Twitter, or if you've seen my Twitter account, I post a lot of frames from the things I watch because, that's one of the things I always look up for. And, I mentioned editing not too long ago. So yeah, the editing and the transitions, a lot of the transitions, fantastic, really is. It's standout stuff. The CGI was, it was great in some places, and then maybe not as great in others. The teeth of Prisoner Zero. But let's shift to Matt Smith. I've got to say, it just took one episode for me to firmly buy into Matt Smith as the Doctor. And he is the Doctor. And, it felt so earned. You see that moment as he proclaims, "I am the Doctor." Yes, you are, sir. You are the Doctor. It's this, I'm glad that this is such a different take on the Doctor, right? It is, it is not the same thing. I mean, there's certainly elements of Tennant's Doctor there earlier on, right? Because it makes sense for him to have a few of those elements. But, by the end of the episode, this is a distinct Doctor, no doubt about it. That's why, I said I like the opening portion of the episode and the last conclusion portion of the episode. And by that, I mean, him calling back this alien thing, right? And then also going into the whole Amy Pond coming into the TARDIS. But yeah, it felt so earned as he kind of steps out of that holographic bubble that's gone up. And of course, how wonderful was that, right? Showing all the past doctors, and much more recently, Eccleston and David Tennant. But, I thought it was such a fantastic moment. And, of course, the big reveal of his outfit as well, right? And he certainly has screen presence, right? He has a commanding presence. I love that scene. I really do love that scene. And I love the delivery of that line. Basically, run, right? You see that he didn't need to be menacing, right? Because you could just tell, subtext, you could tell, you could feel it. That, yeah, there is menace there if needed. But I love the delivery of it. It was so calm and he was so in control. But as he mentioned, I put a lot of time into it. So the protector of Earth is certainly back in place after that regeneration, right? But yeah, Matt Smith, he's quite endearing. He's quite unique. And that also goes for his physical appearance, right? His facial features are unique, right? And you see he utilizes them effectively, doesn't he? You see that he's quite a physical performer, or this doctor is quite a physical being, essentially, right? In the way he expresses himself. And, it kind of goes back to that glimpse I saw of him in the End of Time Part 2, right? That manic energy, right? Really embracing the chaos. So yeah, the physicality is certainly there. And it's on display. But yeah, you certainly see a completely different type of personality here. You see that he's not as tortured as Tennant's doctor, right? The 10th Doctor. You don't see any of the lingering effects of that regeneration or, that personality, or at least that part of it, because of course it wasn't a happy goodbye, right? He stated, I don't want to go. So yeah, you don't see any of the lingering effects of that. It's actually quite the opposite. He's quite jolly. He's quite odd, right? He's quite strange, and he's open about it, right? This is the most open the Doctor has been about being different, right? He's not trying to blend in or anything. He is being completely himself. It's really great to see that he can do the comedic aspect and then, instantly shift to the serious tone. And, that was one of the running themes of this episode, right? Going from a comedic tone to serious, like in an instant. And again, it kind of, revolves around Amy Pond, or Amelia Pond, right? And the crack. And, that theme that kicks in every time, this ominous theme. Oh my goodness. It happened like 3 or 4 times. So yeah, I was on board. Matt Smith completely hooked me in one episode. And his take on the Doctor completely hooked me because it's so different. I love that it's so unique. And yeah, he is quite endearing. He is charming. So yeah, Matt Smith, I'm on board. Certainly, I'm on board. But let's kind of switch focus to the companion, the long-term companion, perhaps. Amy Pond, or Amelia Pond, right? I almost said Bond. But yeah, you see that, there's a bit of a change in identity later as she grew up, right? She's trying to, move on from her childhood because of some of the trauma, right? Some of the abandonment issues that came up. And, unfortunately, the Doctor caused some of it, even if he didn't want to, right? Even though he had no intention of it, he ended up causing some of these issues. Here you have a companion who didn't just randomly run into the Doctor as an adult, right? Here you have a companion who has known the Doctor for most of their lives, right? Amelia Pond has known the Doctor and known about the Doctor for the majority of her life, and it's had a major impact, a profound impact actually, right, on her life. So, it brings in that notion of, running into the Doctor or meeting the Doctor being a curse and a gift, right? Or a gift and a curse, right? Because for the Doctor, it was just a chance encounter, right? His TARDIS just happened to crash there, or did it, right? Let's see, again, that crack and everything. But yeah, but for the sake of this argument, for the Doctor, say it's a chance encounter, but for her, it was a life-altering experience, right? Something that completely changed the trajectory of her life. Again, a profound experience. But yeah, Amelia Pond, or Amy Pond, having this, arc in this episode alone, her as a young child and then her as an adult, and, giving us a solid amount of time on screen for young Amelia Pond as well, right? And that connection she had with the Doctor early on. yeah, this makes it a really unique situation as far as companions go. And again, similarities to the girl in the fireplace, of course, right? Him running into a young child and then once again running into them as an adult. Though, of course, that one was really leading into the romance aspect, right? I mean, it's clear that Amy Pond does have those types of feelings for the doctor, maybe, right? There is a little something there. Maybe as a young child, she kind of saw him as this protector, father type figure, right? A mentor type figure, right? And I thought Matt Smith and this doctor did a fantastic job of that, right? That parental type role almost. So that was really great to see. Something new, something unique, right? See him in that type of role. And, of course, her situation is kind of unique because she is quite lonely in this house, right? And even in general, she is lonely. You could tell that she needs a friend. And, the doctor became that friend at that time. So, a father figure, a protector, a friend, all of those, right? To her as a child. But then you could also see that maybe there's this notion as she, became an adult, there's this notion of her maybe imagining him as this perfect partner, right? Maybe a perfect husband type figure, maybe. And one of the reasons I say that is because some of the the subtle imagery here. You see that near the conclusion, she kind of goes through that arch, right, to the garden. It almost kind of felt like she's going to the altar, meeting the doctor, right, standing there beside the TARDIS, and then there's that arch leading into the garden. I thought surely that's not just a chance thing, that's not a coincidence. Surely that's by design, to kind of, depict that imagery. Again, like I mentioned, it did feel like a fairy tale, right, throughout the episode. Though, she does become disillusioned and she does become quite cynical, quite jaded, quite guarded in terms of her feelings, doesn't really open up or doesn't like to open up. Or she's not as trusting of people. But another aspect of this is, I grew up, right? She kind of gave up on that fairy tale. Again, like I mentioned, cynical, jaded, essentially because of that, she was emotionally scarred, essentially. Again, the doctor didn't have any intentions of doing this, but yeah, that played a part into it. And it was clear, even before the doctor, there was abandonment issues there. Right? Trauma. There was trauma there, abandonment trauma. So yeah, she's had a rough childhood, that's for sure. Bit of an outsider, even in that place. Though, of course, as an adult, it feels like a lot of people knew her, right? Everyone seemed to know Amy Pond. And, in that sense, it was a great setting for this episode as well. It was a small town rather than a big city, right? So I certainly like that choice there. And you see, because of these abandonment issues, she's not really able to commit herself to anything really, because of the fear of potentially being hurt again or being disappointed again. And you see that there is a bit of a disconnect here. Her boyfriend Rory, and she's certainly not on the same wavelength as him, right? And Rory himself is a bit passive. Maybe passive aggressive even in that one case. But yeah, he's a bit timid, a bit of a shy person. He's a bit awkward. So yeah, they're not on the same page, even though they are in a relationship. So yeah, let's see how that develops. Like I mentioned, I could totally see him coming along as well at some point. Again, the interior is massive at this point, the set of the interior of the TARDIS. So that alone also gives me a bit of a hint, perhaps, that there's going to be more than just two people in there at times throughout this series or throughout this run. But yeah, you see that slowly, the Doctor kind of reintroduces that magic that she felt all that time ago, that she, always kind of kept close to herself, even though she internalized it. Right? And on the surface level, she had a different attitude as an adult. You see that slowly it kind of comes back out. By the end of it, she's in the TARDIS and she's really dreaming again, right? Or this is the stuff she's been dreaming of for years at this point, over a decade. And to see her back in the TARDIS at the end there, or to see her in the TARDIS about to travel, it's a great moment. It really is. And, it's heartbreaking earlier on as she, makes her suitcase, as young Amelia Pond and goes out there the moment she took the suitcase out there, I knew, you know, it's gonna be the same thing as the girl in the fireplace. He's not gonna show up again, not by choice, but you know, the TARDIS was being finicky, right? It was in that reconstruction phase or healing phase, so it was a bit finicky, right? But yeah, you know, like I mentioned, I still need a backstory for Emilia or Amy, and you know, her parents. Again, like I mentioned, really early on in the discussion, there's set up here that makes it clear that there's something going on here, right? And the fact that you know the doctor asked her to come along, I'm sure part of it is also because the doctor is noticing that okay, there is something going on here with this individual as well, right? So he's kind of keeping a close eye, I think. In addition to actually, you know, wanting her to come along, you know, he admits that he's been lonely for a long time. He's been by himself for a long time. I think it's time to finally, you know, have a friend again, right? Because in the last few days as the 10th Doctor, right, the last iteration of the Doctor, you know, he decided that he's not going to bring anyone on again, never again, right? And I'm speaking of David Tennant and his stance on companions. But yeah, you know, once again, he's open to the idea of companions. And again, that came about after the regeneration, right? So, of course, there's a bit of a shift in personality and thought process as well. So, yeah, you know, he's open to that idea once again. And a few other things, you know, some familiar faces, some iconic familiar faces. Olivia Colman, the phenomenal Olivia Colman made an appearance. So that was a pleasant surprise to see her. I can't remember the actor's name, but I know him. I've seen him in Game of Thrones. I've seen him in the first few episodes of Black Sails. Yeah, so it was great to see him. Again, it feels kind of silly because I can't remember his name, but yeah, familiar face, right? There's a new Doctor Vision thing going on, right? Really Sherlock-esque, or really reminiscent of Sherlock. So yeah, you know, that was cool. How he kind of perceives information from the looks of it. There's things like the red and blue contrast. You know, you see earlier on the blue TARDIS and Emilia's coat, and you know the door to her house. And then you see later on Rory's got the red and the blue pen in his pocket. I saw the return of the perception filter, right? I completely forgot it and I called it active camo, but yeah, perception filter. There's a few, you know, great shots of them looking from the sides of their eyes, right? Both Matt Smith and Kieran Gillen. Again, you know, the photography is just great. Also, you know, I mentioned her being a great audience surrogate, be a young Amelia Pond or older Amy Pond. And again, you know, she's kind of going through the same things the audience is kind of going through, right? Or you would think some, you know, part of the audience is going through, you know, a bit hesitant, a bit standoffish of this new actor, Matt Smith. I wasn't, you know, I was kind of almost instantly on board. He really is so endearing. But yeah, you know, so I thought it was a great choice to have her as an audience surrogate on that level, right? On many different levels, essentially. But, you know, I must say, the opening portion of this episode, you know, Matt Smith or the Doctor and young Amelia Pond, that was probably one of my favorite portions of Doctor Who in general. You know, that segment, you know, that 15 to 20 minute opening segment was just, oh my goodness. You know, I'm certainly going to go watch that again as soon as possible. I just really like that scene because of how different it was, right? Seeing the Doctor in that situation, right? In that role, right? Essentially, you had a child as a companion for a solid chunk early on. So, you know, again, a different dynamic there. Great first impression. I mean, yeah, I saw him in, you know, the ending of the End of Time Part 2, but, you know, this was Matt Smith proper, right? Yeah, you know, like I said, by the end of the episode, he is the Doctor, no doubt about it. Great moments. You know, some of the standout moments of the show essentially are present in this episode. But yeah, I'm on board. Ready for episode 2 and beyond. So if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you're interested in full length or perhaps even early access to the next episode right now, consider checking out the Patreon page. The link is in the pinned comment in the description. Also, there's a link to my Twitter page, social media, if you're into that. But yeah, you know, if you're new to the channel, you know, consider dropping by in the comments. You know, I would love to hear from anyone that's new to the channel as well. But yeah, you know, it feels great to finally be in a new era of Doctor Who. Again, you know, I absolutely adore David Tennant and the 10th Doctor, but you know, it was exciting. It was actually really exciting to get into this because it feels different. It certainly feels different. Yes, you know, there's a few things that are always there, you know, the constants, but yeah, you know, I love that it felt so different. But yeah, you know, I think Matt Smith certainly made the role his own. Right, his own unique spin on it, his own unique take on it, and of course Moffat's hands are all over this. And you know, of course, you know, it continues that notion of him using really, you know, basic things like a crack in the wall, you know, or shadows, right, or you know, monsters under the bed. In the girl in the fireplace. But yeah, that's about it for this one. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon for the next one as I continue the Matt Smith era. So until then, take it easy.